Hey, Kevin, nice to meet you.
Well, how are you, my friend?
Great. Congratulations on this latest movie of yours. Thought it was wonderful.
Oh my God, thank you, man. So far, so
It
good.
was shot at your wonderful movie theater, which is great. And I was, curious. It seems like a very, sort of personal story. I was curious how long this idea has sort of been brewing in your mind, would you say?
My first date with my high school girlfriend is something that never left my mind. You know what I'm saying? It's so formative, and we've been such good friends for, shit, the better part of 40 plus years at this point. She was one of the most important people I ever met. So that was never far from my head and heart. But it wasn't like one day it's going to be a movie. Like I never thought it would wind up as a flick. It was us getting the movie theater that kind of instigated it. Me and my friends bought this movie theater that we grew up going to called Smog Castle Cinemas and stuff 2 years ago. But when we got the place, I was like, we have a set. This is a location, man. Like fucking, we could shoot a whole ass movie here. And since the theater is so old, and like everything in it is old and hadn't really refurbished in many, many years, the seats in theater one are the same seats I sat in when I saw Friday the 13th part two. I was like, as long as we point a camera in here, we can get away with it being 1986. Like it could be the era that I went to the movies. And suddenly that fed the narrative and shaped what it was going to be. Then I reached back to like, well, what was the most profound thing that happened to you back then? I was like, oh my God, I could tell the story of my first date. And so that's where the 430 movie kind of comes from. Not so much, this is a story I need to tell, as much as like, we got a movie theater, let's make a fucking movie in it, right? And that it winds up being something that people can hold on to like a warm blanket, that it winds up being so personal, considering it was born so perfunctorily over like, well, we got a location, let's go forward from there. Is absolute pleasure to me, but it kind of makes sense because that's how Clerks was born, right? Clerks was like, well, I got this convenience store, let's make a movie here. Same thing with the 430 movie. So they share that kinship.
She is unlike any nun you've ever met, and she's got a secret.
How come the nuns were never secret hookers when we were in school?
I loved every minute of Clerks and 430 movies. So yeah, job well done.
That means the world.
I was curious if any fans have reached out to you with requests to turn Sister Sugar Walls into a feature film.
A few have talked about it, and when I've done Q&A, that's usually one of the first questions. Is like, if you could make one of those movies, well, hands down, Sister Sugar Walls, from the guy who made Dogma and Red State, Sister Sugar Walls. And we'll see how it does when it goes to home video. October 1st is on digital and whatnot. Hopefully it picks up a larger audience, and then I don't need much for Sister Sugar Walls. Like I could probably pull that off for less than $1 million, man. And I don't think the world's crying out for it, but it'd be nice to be able to grindhouse that shit, do the same thing that Machete did and that Thanksgiving did,
Right. Of course. Yeah. Of course. I thought of that. And yeah, I mean, I would see that movie in a heartbeat.
That would be the movie that, I doubt it would get the Catholic Church to invite me back, but I could see the marketing campaign.
Yeah, I could see it too. Yeah, that's great. And I mean, so many great components of 430 movie. Of course, the cameos by some of your regulars, Justin Long, Rosario Dawson. And I was curious if there was ever any temptation to get Silent Bob involved at all in this.
In an early draft, it was definitely like not with the same characters, but in the View Askew universe, so to speak. Right. Like the movie they were going to see was Ranger Danger. So I was like, oh, finally, I'll get to do some Ranger Danger shit. And Randall has that Ranger Danger t-shirt. But then a friend of mine, Josh, was like, maybe don't connect everything, maybe like, leave it be by itself. Maybe don't Jay and Silent Bob it. And, I was like, you know what, let me see. And I went through with a filter and kind of took out, there were only extraneous references, but it was kind of easy to do that. So I felt like, all right, I could make the journey without my characters and see if like we can kick open the doors of a new universe or something like that. But to be fair, they're all going to see like Dental School, and Dental School is the movie that like the person's trying to rent in Clerks, where Randall's like, no kidding, that's the movie I want to get. So it could be that it takes place in their world. Could be that it's the same Dental School. Could be that movie theater is the same movie theater Dante and Randall hung out at.
That's good. I'm glad you left that little door open, you know.
Trying.
That's great. That's great. And speaking of Silent Bob, I was curious if there's anything more you can share about, you know, the upcoming third installment of Jay and Silent Bob, because a lot of folks are excited ever since, you know, Comic-Con and all that.
We were hoping to do it by the end of this year, but it doesn't look like it's going to be the end of this year. So it looks like March of next year, which is all right. 2025 is the 30th anniversary of Mallrats, so there's some nice symmetry there. It takes place in their weed store. It's about competing dispensaries. So Jay and Bob have their weed store, and then somebody opens up a weed store across the street, and it's about how they spend the whole movie battling with them. It's like spy versus spy, very, very much a feud movie, but it's like legit funny. I was, you know, at the end of the day, as I was writing it, I was like, oh, I could take out Jay and Silent Bob, just name these characters anything, and the movie would still kind of work. You know, it's nice that it's set in that world and it has connective tissue, but it's just a good stoner comedy. You know, it took me 30 years, but I think I figured out, I think I cracked the code on stoner comedy finally, 30 years into my career.
I think you cracked it earlier on, but that's just me. Yeah. Well, great. Well, I can't wait for that. And in the meantime, congratulations again on 430 movie.
Oh my God, means the absolute world, man. I'm so delighted that anybody can sit through it. I love it. It's my heart, but I love when other people are like, hey man, I see it. I get it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it's great. And yeah, let's do this on the next one. And it was nice to meet you.
Done and done. Such a pleasure, Will.
Take care. Thanks, Kevin.
See you later.